And I just want to discuss a couple of things that have come up so far. Whenever this conversation emerges, we usually hear the juxtaposition of fossil fuels with negative public health outcomes. And I just want to highlight for the record that when the economy is gutted under the weight of regulations, that also has a negative impact on public health because when people can't have jobs or they can't afford the cost of living because their energy sources are being strangled, they don't have insurance, they don't have the discretionary income to be able to go to the doctor, that also increases negative health outcomes. We have a term for that. It's called poverty. And when we strangle our energy economy through regulations, that impacts the poverty rates, that impacts people's ability to have that discretionary funding to be able to go and get that preemptive care from a doctor when health outcomes can be caught, they can be found early. And then that means we not only are spending less money, people are staying healthier because they have that ability to go to the doctor earlier. We also know that if we don't promote our own energy economy in the United States, it's gonna go to other places. We heard some data earlier about my part of the country, Colorado's Front Range. 70% of the air pollution along the Front Range of Colorado doesn't come from Colorado. It comes from external sources. That's not my data. That's the Democrat-controlled data from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. We heard conversations about the negative health impacts of a refinery, which happens to be in my district. And I'll tell you some of the other data points about that refinery. We heard that it has 10,000 missed compliance points. Well, there are over 5 million compliance points levied against that refinery. So when you go and you do the math on it, that refinery is in compliance 99.8% of the time. And we know that many of these regulations in Colorado come from the perspective of banning natural gas entirely, which we saw with the recent Public Utilities Commission ruling that bans natural gas for residential heating in Colorado, which of course also increases the burden that people have when it comes to costs and paying for the daily, cost of living. If you get rid of that oil and gas, you get rid of the refinery, you get rid of these so-called fossil fuels, we know what the impact is on people's wallets and on people's economy. The refinery in my area produces 1/3 of the gasoline, 1/3 of the jet fuel, and half the diesel fuel for the Front Range of Colorado. If that refinery goes down, all of that fuel has to be made up and brought into Colorado by truck. Do you know what all of that truck traffic does, not just to our roadways, but to air quality when you're having to put thousands of trucks over the road to be able to backfill the production of these refineries and these other processors of fossil fuel? It has an even greater impact on air quality, and it also has an impact on people's wallets when they're having to not only pay for the banning of natural gas in Colorado, but now they're having to pay to get their gasoline, their diesel, and their other fuels trucked in and brought into the state. And we've seen that because we saw the data. Denver, Colorado had the highest rate of inflation in the country in September of 2025, and a significant percentage of that is tied directly to the fact that energy in Colorado is being regulated to death, and we know that it does not actually have a positive impact on air quality. You can go look at data from NASA and the Sounder program there, where we've seen as oil and gas production has increased in Colorado in the mid-2000s, 2013 to 2019, as production increased, ethane concentrations actually went down by over 50% because we produce the cleanest energy in the world in the United States in places like Colorado. And if you strangle that energy production, it goes overseas, it goes to other places where they produce it with a much higher carbon cost. And so we have to make sure that we are producing that energy in the United States. If we don't produce it here, it goes other places and we still get all of the pollution. Again, 70% of the pollution along Colorado's Front Range does not originate from Colorado. And so I just want to make sure that we're highlighting and understanding here that public health is also negatively impacted when the economy is strangled under the weight of these regulations, and that promoting American energy makes sure that we're promoting our economy, that's promoting jobs, that's fixing the cost of living crisis, that's giving people the insurance and the discretionary income they need to be able to go and preemptively see the doctor so that they can solve health problems earlier at a lower cost and where they have better health outcomes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman yields.